Okay, today I'm going to train L-sit to planche. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to use a drop set method. It might not be the best way to train from a time under tension, holding good quality positions point of view, but it's a fun way of training. What it does is it allows you to play with some harder progressions that you wouldn't normally play with, but you're also getting some volume. So the risk of doing too harder progressions, especially when it comes to things like planche and front lever, is that you don't get enough time under tension. But this way I'm guessing I'm going to have about 3 repetitions between the L-sit and the planche position. The first one's going to be hard, and I'm going to try and push the limits as much as I can. So I'm going to be going towards like a full straddle or even a full planche position for a split second, back to the L-sit, back to an easier variation, back to the L-sit, then one more for a little bit longer hold. Now drop sets are relatively simple when we're using weights. So if we're doing like a deadlift or a bench press or something like that, we can just rack the bar, quickly take off some weights, continue with the movement. So it's very simple to decrease or increase the load with just by taking those weights on and off. But when it comes to calisthenics, we need to know what the regressions or the progressions are in little small increments so we can make those changes on the fly. So I'm just warming up with some planche leans, just making sure that my protraction is feeling good. My arms are feeling like they're staying straight. So really focusing on planche lean, on making sure that you have a straighter line between the shoulders and the feet. We don't want to be in the hip position like this. We definitely don't want to be collapsed through the shoulder blades. So pushing up, rounding the upper back, ideally turning the toes over in that position. And I'm just making sure I've got enough clearance to get through for the L-sit component. I like to have the bars turned out slightly towards external rotation, to not have them like that. I have them turned out a bit and then warm up the L-sit. Then I'm just going to do some holds in some easier tuck planche positions. So making sure again that feels nice and strong, and then an eccentric through to the L-sit. And then a couple of sets of concentrics, so just easier versions through L-sit position, through to tuck planche, and back again. Now obviously you just need to work with the progressions that you have. So if you don't have a tuck planche, or if your tuck planche is your 1 rep max, don't do that as part of your warm up. Do something like L-sit to your planche lean, or an L-sit to a frog position, or just an L-sit through to a like standing position. So you just need to stay on that easier level when you're warming up. Okay, so then for my first set, I'm just going to go from an L-sit to a frog position, and then I'm going to come back to the L-sit, then I'm going to go L-sit to advanced tuck, back through to L-sit, and then finish in the tuck planche. So the progressions that I'm working with is the full planche position, which is seen as the hardest position, then the open hip straddle planche, then the high hip straddle or closed hip straddle planche, then the frog position, advanced tuck, and then tuck planche. But just remember, they're not just these positions. You can have in between ones. You can have half lay. Half lay is really cool. So as we have an open hip position, heels still at the butt, and that fits somewhere in the straddle full planche position. It depends how you get in and out of it. It's quite a challenging position. So next set is that closed hip straddle position, coming back through to the L-sit, coming back through again to frog, back through to L-sit, back through to advanced tuck. So even though I am pausing or holding a very short static position, I would still call this dynamic work. And I recommend that when you're working towards the planche progressions, you're still doing your main training, which is the static holds. So aiming for around 5 seconds in those static, good quality positions for multiple sets. Now for the next sets, the planning is going to go out of the window a little bit more. I'm going to have an idea of what I'm going to go to on the first one. So I'm going to try L-sit to more of an open straddle position. But then my next repetitions after that is going to depend on how much energy I have in the moment. So I'm going to pick what variation I do. It might mean dropping to a tuck planche quicker, or jumping down some of the progressions because I'm maxing out on those earlier rep or repetitions. So that was a good example. You can see I dropped back to easier progressions, and that second repetition was a little bit in between straddle, frog, and advanced tuck. Now you will see with my planche positions that my hips are quite high when I go through. That's how I planche. It's how I've learned the planche. It's because I'm stronger in those press handstand positions. It's not ideal. It's not the best textbook way of doing a planche, but it's the easiest way I can play with it, and it means I can have more fun when training the planche. Now, if I was training planche for calisthenics competitions or just specifically training the planche, I would want to have a much lower position and very open hip. But number one, have fun with your training. Don't overly worry about what other people think about your positions and things, as long as you're progressing towards the goals that you want to achieve. At this point, when I get around 2/3 into my training session, this is when I start to max out where I feel the best in my planche. So I'm now going to try my best at getting towards that full planche position. It's only going to be a visit for a split second and then pull through. I might need to drop to only 1 repetition after this, so a drop set of 2 movements. Now, normally if I've got more time, I'll be checking my video in between the sets, checking the quality of the standard, and then trying to fine tune anything I need to work on. Today I'm rushing to get this done, so you guys are lucky you're seeing it in the moment. I'm not going to see it until I edit this video. But my guess is the hips are a bit high, the position's a bit high, and the quality or the time on there is probably not long enough. On this next set, I'm going to try and fine tune what I think was wrong with that last set. Now, I'm not overly happy with the technique and the quality of those first 2 repetitions, and there's definitely not enough time under tension there to call that a working set. So you can see that's why I'm holding that tuck planche for a little bit longer at the end to get some good volume, so I can count them as a working set. So this is my last set. I'm just going to max out as much as I can. Like I say, I'm not going to check these back until I edit this video. So let me know down and below in the comments whether you have any questions regarding this style of training. Do you use drop sets in your calisthenics training? Do you have any gaps in the progressions? If you're interested in coaching, check out my app. Links are down in the description, and I'll speak to you in the next one.